Notts County Talk match reaction after we have exited the Carabao Cup after losing 1-0 to Wigan. A Paul Mullin, remember him, penalty in the 10th minute has meant that we are not through to the next round. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know how you think we played, if you watched it, if you were there, if you're one of the travelling fans, over 500 travelling fans who sold out our initial allocation. I think that's fantastic, so fair play to you. Let me know if it was the first time you visited their ground as well. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Please do subscribe to the channel. We've got loads of content coming over the season as well. So yeah, let's get into the reaction. I'm not going to get dragged into being overly dramatic about the game, even though I did watch it and I thought the first half was really, really, really poor from a Notts point of view. We're 3 games in, so let's not go crazy about things. Doncaster weren't doing very well a couple of seasons ago, were they? Until about 15 games to go. So 3 games in is nothing. 2 in the league, 1 in the cup. I know Patson said 5 to 10 games, but I don't think he should have said that because it just adds added pressure. But, if you're looking at the 5 games, we're over halfway there now. If you're looking at 10 games, nearly a third of the way there. So without a win, we're struggling to score. We've scored 2 goals this season. One of them was a penalty. So there's a lot still to work on, but I'm not going to be drawn into reacting to this and saying, look, we're in a disastrous situation. If we're still in the same situation in 4 or 5 weeks, I think I would be saying that. Maybe not disastrous, but at least a couple of months I'd be saying we need to be looking at things. But we're 2 games in and we played Wigan away, who are going to have a good season in my opinion, are a League One side. And I'll start with the positives. The first positive for me is that we limited them to very little, to be fair. We lost to a penalty to a League One side that in my opinion was, I think it was maybe just about a penalty. Matty Palmer doesn't complain too much. If I was Palmer, I'd have been complaining. I thought he really threw himself over Palmer's outstretched leg, but you give the outstretched leg, to a player in your penalty area, and they're probably going to go over. I think it was maybe just about a penalty. If Notts didn't get it, I'd be saying screaming for a penalty. If Notts did get it, I'd be saying we were lucky to get that. It's sort of the rose tinted glasses of a football fan. But we limited to very little. Yes, they could have scored a few, but so could we. But I'll go into the second half in a minute. And overall, although we didn't do much in the first half and create much, for large parts of that we did, keep the ball well. I know people are going to be commenting, but it's no good keeping the ball. We've done that for the last few years. But, we didn't look panicked against the League One side necessarily. But there was no end product at all. If you didn't watch the game, there was nothing in the first half. Jody Jones was receiving the ball at the halfway line. And every time he seemed to get the ball, his back was to goal. We just couldn't get involved. We didn't play with a striker. Dennis came on in the second half, but we played with Luca up front. I very, very, very much massively hope that the reason we didn't start Dennis is because we don't have another striker, because Jata is suspended at the minute. We haven't signed anyone, and we're just managing his minutes. I hope it's not because we haven't signed a striker and we're looking for Luca in that striker option, because that did not work at all. I'll go on to talk about Luca in a minute, because I thought he actually had a really, really good second half. And obviously got the goal, didn't he, against Salford on Saturday. So I think looking promising with him. But I hope the reason we put Luca up front was not to test the water with that, because, well, if it was to test the water, it clearly didn't work. So, we do need another striker in the building. We definitely do. But the rest of the first half, well done if you stayed awake. That's all I can say, because it was such a poor half from Notts in terms of creating anything. I think the only player that did anything was a drive and run from your Pender, who looked levels above at times today. Even the Wigan players, he looked above those. And I finished the first half and I was messaging, George and Jordan and regulars on the channel and saying, this isn't really very good at all, is it? We're struggling to create anything. And, what I will say about most of the game, up to maybe 70 minutes, is we massively lack any identity. Like, last season was quite, I'll say, it was boring under Maynard, wasn't it? But we knew what we were doing. We knew exactly how we were going to play. The season before, when we had Williams, it was frustrating. We'd score 3 and let him 4, but we knew what we were going to get. I've not worked it out yet, and I've not worked it out through the friendlies. I've not worked it out through the first 2 league games, bearing in mind, I have been away and I haven't seen full games, but I have watched quite a bit back. And I've watched today's game. There's no pattern to it. So yeah, first half finished, and I was a bit like, okay, it's not looking good. Second half started kind of in the same vein. Nothing really happened, and then we make a few subs. We bring Dennis on, a striker, and within a few minutes we hit the post. It's not rocket science that we need strikers on the pitch. Bennett's went off with cramp. Who, my positives as well. I thought Bennett's was decent. He can take a player on. It's always good to me that I can see Bennett's, for example, taking on League One players. I think that's a really, really big positive, because you see when you go up against these teams that fullbacks and wingers have the number of your wingers, and they're able to just, show them onto their weaker foot or get a tackle in early. But no, he was able to take them on, which is a positive, because obviously he's going to be playing the majority of League Two games, isn't he? Unless we go on a cup run in the FA Cup. So that's also really good. I thought when Luca was moved back into a natural 10 position, fantastic. Really unlucky not to get a goal. Superb save. But 9 times out of 10 that goes in. So Luca scores at the weekend against Salford, and 9 times out of 10 a keeper doesn't save that tonight. So there's a goal threat from him there, which is really positive for me to see. Tyrese Hall came on, didn't get loads of time. I will give a little shout out to Gordon. I thought Gordon was actually okay. He doesn't get a massive amount of praise. Nice little 1-2 down the line with Palmer that almost wins the penalty just after coming on, and then he's really on the heels of 2 of their defenders, wins it back, cuts inside, and has a good shot saved. So decent from him. Iorpenda, who I've already mentioned, was good. And they're my real standouts players. But the last 20, we really, really, really gave it a go. We really did. We should have scored. Lots of efforts. Dennis hits the post. Corner after corner coming in, scrambles in the box. If one of our players gets a nick on it instead of one of their players, it goes in. Or if they don't get a block, it goes in. The one where Luca has a fantastic effort saved. Dennis is there to poke in him. One of their defenders is just there ahead of him. So there were positives in the last 20. My only concern is the last 20 minutes is when we showed up against Salford as well. So we can't have a habit of that recurring every single week. And also, it doesn't really still give me an identity of how we're going to play, because we made 3 or 4 subs. One sub I didn't mention that I like the look of was Kuyar that came on. Haven't seen too much of him. Only time I've seen him in person was against Alfreton, where he looked pretty good. He looked good on the left. So I'd like to see a bit more of him, especially as, again, like I said with Bennett, he get played against the League One side today. So it was good from him, good little cameo. But yeah, there's still no real identity, because you go 20 minutes into a cup game when players, are tiring because they haven't had that much football. Players going off with cramp because they've not had that much football. And Wigan just dropped in and allowed us to do it. We didn't play that for the rest of the game because we couldn't, really. They just ended up sitting in and trying to catch us on the break. So it's not representative of how we're actually going to try and play this season. But if we'd have finished the game the way we started, this would have been far more negative. And I think you can be negative at this point. I've seen a lot of people saying, give us a chance. It's been 3 games. But our own manager said, check back in after 5. And we've not won any of them so far. But it's not all doom and gloom either. So I think you've got to be a bit balanced in there, because what we've seen for the majority of the game wasn't great. But also, look, it's a cup game. It's not the end of the world. I'm really interested to see what Patterson says after this. Obviously, I'm filming this instantly. What I would like to see, which I haven't seen so far, is those final 20 minutes were pretty good. And you've got some really young players there that have done really well. You've got Kuyar, who's come on and played well as well. You've got Bennett, who I thought was quite good. Iorpenda and Luca were really good standouts for Notts, if you're looking at standouts today. Dennis, who I think has really impressed me every time I've seen him, to be honest with you. He just needs a bit more help. I would be using that post-match to big them up a little bit and say, look, but I don't think Patterson's that kind of guy, but I don't know. He could be. But I think you just need to instill a little bit of confidence in this side, because other than the Alfreton game where we snuck a 1-0 win with Lewis McCarry, we've not done anything really, have we? And you can say, well, they're pre-season friendlies, but Patterson himself said there are no pre-season friendlies under him. So we are actually winless in a good number of games. And he talked about momentum from pre-season. We haven't gained any momentum from pre-season because we didn't get any wins. Smashed by Kaiserslautern 3 or 4-0 with a red card for Barry Cotter. Cardiff was decent second half. So I think I would like to see him just say keep his usual sort of talk about, look, we want to win these games. Obviously, great. I don't want to hear, Maynard-esque where you're not holding accountable. But also just say there were things there. You know, on another day we do score 2 or 3 in that second half with the goal mouth scrambles hitting the post and things like that. But I don't know. I'm gonna watch that after I've finished filming and uploading this video for you. But not all doom and gloom. But it does put pressure on Barrow. It massively puts pressure on Barrow at the weekend. I think if we go to Barrow and anything but a win is going to add pressure. A draw will still add pressure to us. And then we've got Shrewsbury coming on the Wednesday. And the game obviously moved from the Tuesday because of the cricket at Trent Bridge. But it's going to be really interesting to see, A, who's picked on Saturday against Barrow and how we play. Because I feel like Barrow, although we've beaten them a couple of times, are kind of like a bit of a bogey team for us. We struggled there. We were very lucky last season to get anything there. I think we got a late penalty, if I remember correctly. So pressure's now added to Barrow, and we'll see. Patterson said 5 to 10 games. Barrow makes it 4 in all competitions. Let's see. Let's see where it goes. Please do, as I've already said, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts. I'm really, really interested, and George as well, of reading all your thoughts of how we played. If you're there, let me know. If you watched, let us know as well. But yeah, please do leave a like. And yeah, we go on to Barrow on Saturday.